Hi everyone, welcome to Colouring with Kate. Thank you for joining me today. So in this video I am doing part 2 of the Colour Together in Enchanted Earth by Melpomeni Chatzipanigitou. So I'm starting off with pencil work on the animals on the palette itself. So for the majority of the animals I'm using Black Widow pencils. So with the fox, I'm using a blend of olive brown, foxy brown, rattlesnake, brown brick, light grey and gunmetal. So starting off with the lightest colour and then shading from the edges, working inwards. I'm using the light grey and the gunmetal for the face, just to make it look lighter. And yeah, I just build the colours up. And yeah, I think I got a comment on one of my videos asking about blending and how do you get it so smooth. So I just keep adding layers and layers with my pencils, and then at the end when I've done all my layers I usually use the lightest colour. If needed, I use the lightest colour to just colour over the entire area, and if it still doesn't look smooth then I will use a Derwent blender pencil. In my view, I like the Derwent blender pencil the best as a blender pencil, so I highly recommend it. So I decided to add a little bit of olive brown to the face as well because it was looking too light over the grey. So now I'm starting with the squirrel and the pencils I'm using. I decided to do it a grey squirrel just because I see grey squirrels all the time, you know, in my back garden while I'm sitting in the sunroom. I just see the grey squirrels on top of the garage and, you know, jumping about. So yeah, I was initially thinking of a red squirrel, but then I didn't want the colour scheme of the squirrel to be too close also to the fox. And then I thought I'll go for grey. So I'm using dark grey, spiderweb, dim grey and charcoal. Again, working with the lightest colour first and then progressively going towards the darker colours and working from the edges inwards. And yeah, the Black Widows work really nicely on this paper, I have to say. They work really well. And also I used the Arteza Expert pencils, which I thought worked really well. I find that these pencils, they work well on most papers. And then the last one I'm doing as a palette animal is the snake. So I'm using green slime, emerald, dragon wizard and Zephyr blue. Not sure that's if that's how you say it, but I'm starting with the lightest colour again and then working my way to the darkest colours and working from the edge inwards. So yeah, I wanted 3 quite different colours on the palette just to contrast to the actual colour of the palette itself, which I decided to do in greens. Just thought it looked quite nice to sort of use contrasting colours. I know the snake doesn't contrast too much with the green, but it's still sufficiently different. So yeah, do let me know how you guys are doing and what you're colouring at the moment. I've got a big double page at the moment that I'm working on in the Japanese bunny book, I call it. I know that's not the exact translation. In fact, that's not the translation at all. But that's the one I'm working on at the moment. And I also started a page in Colours of Daydreams. I think I'm doing the shed picture, which was the one I was most attracted to at this time. and it's got lots of flowers, so it's very spring-like gardening type page. So now I decide to work on the other object here. I don't really know what that is. I thought it's a rock. Is it a rock, or is it just a little bit of, you know, a little bit of paint splatter or something? So I decided to do that in Arteza Expert, and I wanted to use a really bright colour. So I've used sky blue, Egyptian blue, and midnight blue. So just a 3-colour blend. Again, same technique as I usually use, which is lightest colour first and then working towards the darkest colour from the edge inwards. But like I said before, the Arteza Experts work really, really well in this book, on this paper. So, yeah, you will have seen my April haul as well. So that's most of the stuff from February and March. Things that I've purchased. This book being one of them. So now I decided to work on the animals at the top of the leaves. So I decided to do the caterpillar in sort of a orangey blue, because I thought those colours really do contrast. They're quite complementary, so I decided to make it sort of use alternating blends of colours again. So I used Black Widow, I used Gold Dust, Sunset, Burnt Orange, and then blend 2 was Picasso Sky, which is one of my favourite colours in the Black Widow set. Picasso Sky, Blue Horizon, Starry Night, and then for the bottom bit, the caterpillar, excuse me, caterpillar legs, I used a Letraset neon marker, Vault Blue. So all these details will be in the description below. But yeah, I wanted to make the creatures, the animals, quite bright and against the sort of quite muted and grey sort of background, so that they would actually pop off the page. So that's the idea behind using bright colours. So I wanted it to contrast with the sort of duller background quite a lot. I also decided to use some metallic paint on the snail, on the sort of the bottom part of its body, on the little round circles. So use some fine tech paints, which are absolutely gorgeous paints. So if you don't have some of the pencils or the metallic paints that I have, you could use you know, other brands as well. There are quite a nice sets of metallic glittery paints on Amazon, you know, for quite a reasonable price. I know that the Etsy paints are very, very expensive, and the Coliro and the Fine Tech are quite expensive as well. So it's not always easy to purchase those. So the top body of the snail, I'm using the Arteza Expert. So I'm using raw umber, burnt umber and hazelnut brown. Also apologise for my voice again. I've just got up in the morning and decided to do this voiceover, and my voice is very, very croaky again, which is really annoying, but there's not much I can do about that, I'm afraid. So yeah, I'm on the Easter holidays at the moment, and the weather has mostly been beautiful, very, very, very beautiful indeed. So for the shell, I'm using porcelain blue. So this is the Brute Funa macarons. Porcelain blue, cobalt green, chartreuse green, apricot and cosmos. So I'm using quite bright sort of pastel-y shades, which is what you get in the Brute Funa macaron range. Again, the idea is to help those colours on the animals nice and bright so they stick out against the quite muted background. So I will be doing a part 3 to this video as well soon, hopefully, where I am going to do the finishing touches. I've got the paintbrushes to do. So here I am using the Finetech paint just on the little circular details on the snail body. So I'm using mainly browns, golds, oranges, because I thought they would go quite well with the snail's body. I'll just bring you in a little bit so you can see. But yeah, as I was saying, there will be a part 3, which will be the final, where I'm going to complete the finishing touches, complete the paintbrushes, which I know I'm going to use silver paint for some of the paintbrushes, but I'm not decided with everything else. What else? Yeah, I'm also going to make a video on my entire coloured pencil collection and watercolour pencil collection. So I did do a little bit of a boo-boo there, as you can see. I went totally out of the lines. It's just the angle the book was at for filming wasn't, you know, particularly great for getting into the little spaces, so I did make a little mistake. So yeah, that's my caterpillar, that's my snail. So I go off camera and I do the other caterpillar and the snail in exactly the same way. So now I'm working on these animals on the palette. I'm not sure what they are. I think it's a goose with its little baby. So I'm using the Arteza Expert. I'm using the cream sapphire yellow for the body. For the feathers, I'm using mushroom grey, elephant grey and pewter's grey. So yeah, back to the little chat bit. I'm going to do a coloured pencil collection video, which is going to be separate to my watercolour pencil collection, just because otherwise the video I think will be too long. And yeah, it'll be updated for 2023 basically, because I have purchased quite a few pencils since the last pencil collection video, and I'll probably give you my opinion on each pencil set. I'll try not to speak for too long, because, you know, I don't really want to go on too much and bore everyone, but yeah, I'll probably show you each pencil and give you my comments of what I think about them and what, you know, if I like them or I'm not too keen on them or anything. So yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit of bright yellow to the feet and the beak of the geese. I'm calling them geese, I'm not 100% sure if they are geese. I think they are, but I could be wrong. I do really want to work on my other books as well, the mythographic. I'm not sure how many pages I'll get done. I don't think I'm going to get done many pages this month. I don't know why, because I've had 2 weeks of Easter holidays, but I've been busy doing other things as well. So now I'm going to use Fineliners for some of the grass, I think it is, grass or leaves. So these are quite thin and small little details. So I decided to use 3 different shades of a fine liner. So use like a dark, a medium and quite a light shade of green. I really do like using my fine liners. You know, for pictures, for small details, I think they work really well. So yeah, you can see the 3 shades, and then I just use the same 3 shades for the other grass or leaves, whatever they are. Yeah, and then basically the other leaves that I've got left, I decided to use different mediums for them, just because I haven't really used a lot of metallic paint on this page yet, and I wanted to use metallic paint. So I decided that the leaves with the, you know, there's leaves on both sides of the stem, I thought they would be quite good for adding metallic paint. So I used the KJ Designs by Karen paints, which are available on Etsy. I used a green gold colour, which is what you can see me applying right now. And then I used a really light green, which is called Anaconda. So again, I did alternating leaves on both sides with those two paints. And I'm using my 2-0 brush, which is a very nice fine tip brush. So yeah, the Anaconda colour is almost a yellow, because it's so light green. But yeah, I thought the metallic paint on the leaves would look really nice, and there's the same sort of leaves on the other side of the page. So I thought I'd do those exactly in the same way, just so it looks nice and symmetrical. And then for the other leaves that you see, I decided to use, I don't know if I wrote it down actually, I decided to use some glaze pens. So I used the Sakura glaze. I've got 3 different shades of green. So I think I use all 3 different shades. So I think this is, I don't really know what the names are, because I think they've just got numbers, which with my eyes I can't really see particularly well. So I used dark green, sort of a bright green as well. So with most pages, I do really like using a lot of different mediums, as you know if you follow my channel. And my usual kit of colouring supplies for a page will include pencils mainly, fine liners, metallic paints, and gel pens like the Sakura Glaze, sparkly pens. So if you don't have the glaze pens, what you could do is colour it in pencil and use a clear glaze pen, the Sakura clear glaze, over the top, which will give you a similar effect. Or if you haven't got a glaze pen at all, you could just use some sparkly gel pens, I guess, and that would still look very nice. So now I'm just using a dark green fine liner just to colour the main vein, I think it's called the midrib, of each leaf. And yeah, that's how it's looking at the moment. And then I decide that I'm going to colour the leaves where I added the lightest fine liner. I decided that I wanted a bit of shading on it because it looked quite flat, and pencil shading over fine liner is another thing which you could do just to speed things up, I guess, as well in your colouring. And I didn't want to leave them as they were. I really thought that it needed a bit more it needed some shading. Nearly there now, guys, so if you stayed with me till the end, I really do appreciate it, honestly. It means a lot for you to watch my videos. So now I'm just adding dark green to the edge of the palette, which was the dark green that I added to some of the grass, the small blades of grass on the palette, because I thought I wanted to keep it quite uniform with the greens on the palette, rather than introduce sort of another colour. And that's it, I think. This is what the page is looking like at the end of part 2. I think it looks fairly decent, although I do really want to do something else with the background because I'm not particularly happy with it. I think it needs something more. So yeah, hope you enjoying this colour together. Next time I will do the paintbrushes. So bye everybody.